Happy birthday, dear Sydney. Happy birthday to you. What are you, 26 now? Oh, yeah, so close.
Wow.
Okay, so Sydney, for your birthday, I've created a lovely DMR for you and your friends. So feel free to give it a shot. We're still building these habits. Keep in mind that we're obviously practicing this today. We'll practice this again tomorrow. And then Friday will be our quiz over these same questions. So I think we got, for the first one there, negative 16. Second one, negative 4. And then negative 30 for the third one. And then I kind of had a hard time reading this because it was like right there in the kind of bad spot. I got 25,000 makes sense to you guys?
Yeah.
The graph is not very conveniently placed on no. Wasn't it? Okay. So please do, I think the worst thing we can do, and I put myself in this boat too, the worst thing we can do in situations like this is kind of like lie to ourselves and say, oh, I'm good, I got this, when the truth is, and we know it, there might be one up there that we're not so good on, that there's some mystery around that, we're not sure. So we all make mistakes. I'd like to make sure that if you did make a mistake, or maybe you're just wondering about something, we take care of it. So do you have anything you want to talk about? Anything you're curious about, or just questioning anything up there? Say again? Okay. Had trouble with number 3. Any particular part? Was it the parentheses, the absolute values, or was it more just a general? What, if it's okay with you, Bray, this would be just for my own self too, can I just work my way through this and just kind of show you my thoughts? Okay. So I'm going to follow PEMDAS here, kind of like what we did yesterday. And I see a couple of grouping symbols. So I'm going to try to take this step by step. Remember, the big mistake would be to read this left to right. That would lead you into some bad places. That's where we finished with yesterday. Remember, we found that mistake that one student made. So I'm not going to read left to right. I'm going to read according to PEMDAS. So the first thing I'm going to write is just 9 minus 7 parentheses. And then in the parentheses, I've got 4 squared, right? So I'm going to do that exponent in there first. So 4 squared is 16 minus 11 minus, and then in the absolute values, 5 minus 9 is?
4.
Not 4. Technically, inside the absolute values is negative 4. Now the end result, it's going to be minus 4, yes. But I'm taking it step by step. So I really strongly encourage you, if you have any doubts, just go super slow. It's always going to work out a little better for you. Okay, I'll continue to work in the parentheses. So 16 minus 11 is 5. So I'll just write it like so to remind myself that I'm multiplying that 7 times the 5. Minus, so that minus is the same as that one. And then what is the absolute value of negative 4? 4. So this just ends up being, in the end, minus 4. I've cleared all the work inside the parentheses. There are no other exponents to think about. I'm going to multiply. The only multiplication I see is what I'm highlighting in a lovely orange color. It's right here. So it's going to be 7 times 5, which is 35. I finally come to the end here where I only have addition and subtraction left. 9 minus 35 minus 4. So again, I'll take this step by step. I mean, some of you probably can do this in your head. That's great. 9 minus 35 is negative 26. And then negative 26 minus 4, that's where we got that negative 30. So it's left 26, left 4. And that's where we get there. Yeah, so let me just be honest with you. Like at this stage of my life, oh man, this is gonna be really scary for me. So like I have been doing algebra or something more than algebra for twice as long as you've been alive. That makes me sound really old because you're all like 14, right? I mean, Sydney just turned 14 today. So yeah, so I've been doing this for like over 30 years. And I say all that to say this. Now listen, If I want to make sure that I get a problem like this correct, I show lots of steps. If I want to make sure. Now, I can do these things really fast in my head, like maybe some of you can, no problem. But if I want to, say, I'm going to get this right, no doubt, I'm going to show 1, 2, 3 or 4 steps. And I'm going to make sure by showing steps. So for those of you that this is relative, some of you have been doing this for a grand total of like 1 or 2 years. Probably be showing steps, right? That'll give you a much better shot. So just an encouragement to you. Hopefully you'll take that. So thank you for saying something there, Bray. Anybody else want to talk about anything? Any other things you're questioning? Okay, cool. So one of the things we're going to do today that's a little bit different than the other days we've been together is towards the second part of the class, we're actually going to get you up out of your chairs. We're going to head up to the board and do a little bit of work there. We're going to start off kind of the normal cadence of how we do things. We're gonna move forward here and get to our first couple of practice questions. And I'm actually going to give you a little bit of direction on the first one, and then I'm going to let you run with a couple of them. And then, like I said, we'll finish our day with, I think, just about all of you. I think we'll have room at either the front board or the back board. And I do have some little tiny whiteboards if we have a little bit of overflow on those. So, okay. So for our practice today, we're going to continue to do the same kind of order of operations that we did yesterday, and we're actually going to do this again tomorrow. But the setup is going to be a little bit different. The setup with these is going to be that we're going to have an expression with a variable, and then we're going to be told what the value of the variable is. So for example, let me just hopefully make this clear, like why we're doing what we're doing. If I owned a company and I was maybe going to employ you, you were going to work at my company, and you came in and you did your interview, and I liked you, you liked me, and you decided, yeah, I think maybe I'd like to work for this person. I'm going to hire you. One of the questions that might come up is how much you're going to get paid for the effort you put in, right? Probably not for free. You're going to get paid. So what if I told you I will pay you $15 per hour? What would you think of that? Terrible. So you're just a ninth grader, Chase. I don't even know what to say about that. So maybe you don't like that. Maybe Chase says $16.50. Okay, but maybe Chase is going to shoot for the moon. He's like, I want like 30 an hour. I know I'm only like 14, but I'm really good. What if I came back to Chase and I said, yeah, 14 or 30 an hour, 15 an hour, I don't know. What if I decided to pay you negative x squared minus 5x plus $13 per hour? Negative x squared minus 5x plus $13 per hour. What might Chase follow up with me on? What might he ask me?
What is that?
What is that? And I would say, well, it's how much money I'm going to pay you per hour. What would his wages really depend on if this was going to be his hourly wage? That would be the units, I agree. But if I told him I was going to pay him that much, would he know how much is going to be in his bank account at the end of the day? What would it depend on? Yes, but also something else. Has anybody ever seen a dollar bill with an X on it? Like you just got paid X dollars? Doesn't it depend on what X is? Because what if I told him, hey, X is 5? Well, then that would mean one thing. If I told him X was 10, that would mean something different. If I told him X was negative 2. So my point is this. We have no idea what the value of this is until we are told the value of X. So here's how we find the value, which is what, of course, what evaluate means. Here's how we do this. I want to show you a couple steps. I'm just going to give you some direction to hopefully help you avoid silly mistakes. If you're going to try to find the value of something like that, your very first step should always be this. Take any variable you see and replace it with blank parentheses. So please notice that all I've done is I have rewritten that expression, but instead of x's being in there where the x's are supposed to be, I've removed the x's and I've put empty parentheses. Now, to finish this off, what do you think we're going to drop into those empty parentheses? What x is, which is? Negative 2. So I'm going to drop that in right here and right here. And now that we've dropped that x into those empty parentheses, doesn't this look a lot like what we did yesterday and a little bit like what we did for our warm-up? So I'm going to let you guys take this one home from here, see if you can find the value of that expression when x equals negative 2 by using PEMDAS, right? Use your order of operations. We'll check your answer in a minute, get you guys to practice a couple more, and then we'll finish at the board. Let's see, I don't remember what the answer is either. Let's figure it out here. So, how did this become a 4? Oh, I think I know. You said 3 plus 1, right?
Yeah.
So you actually went out of order of operations there because you need to, so this is technically -1 squared, right? You get your little squared there. You want to do the squared before you do this multiplication.
Oh, okay.
And -1 in parentheses squared is actually 1, so this should be 3 minus 1, which is not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. What I mean by that is like good learning opportunity. I'm excited. I get to explain something. It's good. So let's go with that. All right. So I'll keep saying it. Some of you are doing it, but I really think that this is a good strategy. When you're trying to do something like this and you get these variables in there, for goodness sake, don't skip steps. Find all the x's, replace them with empty parentheses. So my first step is going to look like this. 5 minus empty parentheses times 3 minus empty parentheses squared minus the absolute value of 6 empty parentheses. Like, I'm not kidding. I would write just that. Once you've done this, what do we drop into those empty parentheses? -1 on this one. -1. So -1 would go here and here and here. Once you've done this, we're going to do PEMDAS. There's a lot going on. Don't let anybody tell you that this is easy. There's plenty going on. So here we go. I'm going to try to do the work in the parentheses first. So it's going to be 5 minus -1. And in the parentheses, I'm going to focus on that -1 squared. What is the result of just what I'm highlighting in orange here?
1.
It's 1. So it'd be 3
why is that not 2?
minus 1. I'm not done with the parentheses yet.
-1 times -1.
-1 times -1 is +1. Now 3 minus 1 will be 2 for sure, but -1 times -1 is just 1. Minus, inside these grouping symbols, 6 times -1 is -6. So notice, I'm not trying to bite off more than I can chew. I'm not trying to do like 3 steps in one. I'm just trying to go according to PEMDAS and trying not to make any silly mistakes. I've got the 3 minus 1 in the parentheses, so I'll do that next. So it'd be 5 minus -1 times 2 minus, and then what's the absolute value of -6? 6. Okay. Still doing all right? Okay. So then I got multiplication now in PEMDAS. I've got 5 minus, what's 5 minus -1? Now be careful. It's really 5 plus 1, right? But I've got that 2. What's going on here? Like, this is really potential for confusion. What's this?
Multiply those first.
That's multiplication, right? There's a couple of different ways to look at it. How about this? 5 minus -2. Is that fair?
Yeah.
-1 times 2 is -2? Okay. And then we say 5 minus -2 is really 5 plus 2, which is 7. So 7 minus 6, I'm thinking the answer, the value should be 1. I'm trying to show you a good example of like really quality steps here, where if you do happen to make a little mistake, you should be able to look back and, oh my goodness, there it is right there. There's my silly mistake. Okay, so I want to give you guys one more opportunity to practice with these before we head up to the board for an example or two. So please move on to number 3. Try that one. I think it's super important that we replace all of our variables with empty parentheses. So that would be 3 times -2. Oops. I'm not going to break my own rules. 3 times blank parentheses squared minus this, all divided by blank cubed plus 3 times blank minus 5. So I honestly would start off with something like that. And I think a lot of you did, so that's awesome. Then I'm going to drop that -2 in there where it belongs. So -2 goes here and here and here and here. And now we're into order of operations, PEMDAS. What was so nice about this part up here? add it out to be 0, right? And something plus 0, that gets pretty simple pretty fast, right? So that's good. So if I do that part, I get 3 times negative 2 squared minus the absolute value of 0. That was kind of nice. Down here, it'd be negative 2 cubed plus 3 times negative 7 if I do the work inside the parentheses first. Notice I'm not going left to right, right? I'm trying to get all the order of operations taken care of. The next thing I see is an exponent. So that would be up here in the upper left, 3 times 4 minus 0 over negative 8 plus 3 times negative 7. I'm just trying really hard to follow order of ops, not skip any steps. And next I got some multiplications. So that would be 12. And of course 12 minus 0 is 12. I'll leave that alone. 3 times negative 7 is negative 21. And so when I add up that denominator, I get negative 29 for a final value of 12 over negative 29. Can anybody think of a different way you could write that final value? It would be just as good. It would be accurate, but it would look a little different.
3 over 9.
No.
4 over 9.
No, I'm not talking about reducing. I'm talking about the minus sign. Are you guys okay with this? You could just say that the overall value of the fraction is negative because a positive divided by a negative is negative. That would be another perfectly good way of writing this. So there's that. How are we doing? Good? All right, so let me just explain real quick. We'll do this for about 11 or 12 minutes here. We'll get through a couple of opportunities, I think. The reason why we go to the board, A, it's good to get up, move around a little bit. B, it allows me to take a quick glance and see how everybody's doing and maybe give some help where help is needed. It also allows you to just have a different look and help each other out and easier to peek at your neighbors. You, instead of having to like crane your neck like this and be like, oh, Bree, I got the same thing. Yay. You can just like look at the board. It's like right there. And then it's just different. Just something to kind of spice it up a little bit. So if you would, head to either the back or the front. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll get you some more erasers. But I want you guys to try some of these examples. Starting off with... Let's try number 1 on practice 2. It's up there on the screen. I'll get you some erasers. The rags. Can't use that rags there. No, I use erasers. Here's a couple of. Here's some more erasers for you guys here in the back.
Wait, which one is it?
Anything that was on the board, you're welcome to erase it. Here's a high-tech eraser. Oh, sorry. So please try number 1 up there on practice 2. 35. If you're feeling stuck on that one, I'll be around here in just a second and we can kind of revisit that one. If you're feeling okay with that one, why don't you move on to number 2? I think this will probably be our last one for today. Check out, please, number 2. A little more complicated. This is more like that other tough one we did earlier.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day. Oliver, going okay?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Have a good one.